What's poppin', people? It's Dante here. Today I wanted to discuss how to find your style in street photography. And I'm just gonna share my personal journey, what works for me, and how this can maybe benefit you, right? So, before we get in, let's hit the espresso. So here are my photographs. They're all laid out. I got a little sketchbook, looking through the work, trying to understand the work. And after looking through it, for the past 2 years now, just kind of detached from the work, looking back at it, I think I've developed a style. I think I've developed a way of seeing. I think I've developed my vision. And actually, for the past 2 years, I've been working in black and white, transitioning from color. And despite this fact, right, when I put my black and white and my color images next to each other, I mean, even just this one, right, with the basketball scene, while it's less complex, it's interesting. It's like, I still have maintained, I believe, my voice in the new frames I'm making, despite photographing in a completely new approach and process. And so I think that this is possible. I think it's possible to develop a voice. I think it's possible to develop a style in photography, but ultimately it's going to come down to consistency, discipline, and courage. And honestly, when I consider these three traits that a photographer must possess, it's important, right? It's important because we get caught up with the camera, right? Oh, what camera, what lens should I use? Should I shoot film or digital, color or black and white, blah, blah, blah. It's all distracting. But if you have the consistency and the discipline of constraining yourself creatively to sticking to one camera, to sticking to one lens, to sticking to color or black and white, and just running with it with courage, well, then you can actually cultivate your voice, your style. If you're gonna dabble back and forth and experiment early on, I get it, right? I did. We all do. And I think that's a normal part of developing your voice as an artist. But once you have a year of photographing in under your belt, it's time to start taking it seriously. It's time to actually, after that year of discipline or the year of exploration and experimentation, to then enter the world of discipline, consistency, and courage. And while I consider these traits, I think of courage at the forefront. And the reason why I believe you need courage is because in order to find your voice, to find your style, you're going to have to be bold. You're going to have to be audacious. You're going to have to go out there and to be ruthless with your approach. If you want to get close to subjects and photograph on the front lines of life, you're going to have to position yourself on the front lines of life. For me, I've always been interested in the closeness of a frame, bringing you into humanity. I love looking at life at a close proximity. I never shied away from getting close to my subjects. I was influenced by various photographers early on that really drew me to this approach of getting close to humanity. Those being the works of William Klein, Alex Webb, Larry Towell, Joseph Kudelka. I can think of names like Sebastião Salgado and James Notchtwe, right? I remember watching a video or a documentary rather, The Salt of the Earth by Sebastião Salgado and War Photographer by James Notchtwe, and diving into the archives of Alex Webb and purchasing photo books and looking online of great photographers that come before me and finding this to be the ultimate way to influence and cultivate a style or a vision. And the reason why I believe this is important is because in the social media age where we have Instagram and YouTube and all these different platforms, they can become distracting, right? Even this video, frankly, just turn it off and just go shoot. But yeah, I think maybe this can actually help someone. So if you study the work of people that you admire and you really go in and have an open mind and understand what different elements of these photographers draw you in, you can then approach the medium in your way, combining these different elements together. And so for me, I remember specifically finding William Klein's approach to composition being very loose and candid, and his approach and attitude to be raw and visceral that I appreciated. I found the beauty of light and shadow, color and composition with the layered complexity of Alex Webb to be something I regarded as some of the highest elevated forms of what street photography can be. I love the closeness of Larry Towell's work in the Mennonites, where he photographs different communities in a close proximity and really integrated himself within the scenes that he photographed. I love the way that James Notchtwe was bold and positioning himself on the front lines of conflict and war. I love Sebastião Salgado's adventure and the exploration of the open world There's certain elements from certain photographers that I was drawn into, that I decided to use as a building block for my approach and my philosophy around photography and how to develop my personal style. So first and foremost, you're going to need to constrain yourself. You're going to need to give yourself that creative discipline and in order to cultivate a style. Secondly, you're going to need to look at actual work that resonates with you. You're going to look at the work that photographers have made in the past and decide what you like about them. I think in order to cultivate your own style and your own voice, you have to understand what has been done before you in order to have an idea of what can be done. And so because of that, I decided to study certain photographers in particularly in depth, those being Alex Webb specifically, right? Or that being Alex Webb specifically. I found him to be the highest form of what street photography could be in terms of the complexity and the layered compositions, the style, the color, the approach, the different places he's traveled to, the bodies of work and volume, the consistency. There's something about his work specifically that has heavily inspired me as a photographer early on. And so I suggest picking up the photo book. For me, The Suffering of Light here is like the Bible of street photography. It's 30 years of work. It's like one of his monograph books, right? So it's very curated and showcases some of the best that he has made over the years. And I've been looking at this for a really long time and still find it to be some of the greatest street photography ever produced. And because of that, I decided, you know what, if I'm going to look at photography, I'm going to look at the best photography. I'm going to study what I believe to be the best, and of course this is subjective and we all have our own personal idea of what is the best. And I think it's important for you to find what you deem to be the best. In order to cultivate your style, you need to find what you deem to be good. What do you find good? What does that even mean to you? For me, a good photograph combines multiple elements of light, of color, of composition, of moment and story. A good photograph has something that doesn't necessarily depict itself on the visual front, but on an emotional level as well, right? I think that in order to cultivate a style, you do need an aesthetic choice and a decision to make, where I appreciate the use of high contrast. I love the crushing shadows and light of a photograph. I love the complexity and the chaos of the city streets. I love traveling to new places and exploring new worlds through camera. I love my adventures throughout the years, traveling to different places. And those are what brought me to this conclusion that cultivating a style is also, while a reflection of how you see the world, it's where you are in the world too. The places that I've traveled to have influenced the work that I've made. The places and environments that I've surrounded myself in gave me the opportunity to make the photographs that I've always wanted to. If I were to stay stagnant in one place and never travel and see the world, I would have never been able to cultivate a body of work that resonates with how I want to produce work, right? If that makes sense, right? Where looking at work from other people that have traveled the world have inspired me to travel the world. I think that's what's beautiful about photo books is it puts you in a new location and it shows you this fresh new perspective, and it inspires you to get up off your ass, move, and to make pictures. And maybe that's the moral of the story when it comes to making photographs is you have to be consistent, disciplined, and courageous to continue pressing the shutter. The lesson that I've learned over the years is to never stop moving, to never stop making, to never stop creating, and to never stop exploring and traveling, and to remain forever curious. For curiosity is ultimately what's going to guide you out there into the worlds. But it's the courage that you'll have that guides you to the front lines, close to life, to places and situations that you can only dream of from looking at these photo books. And that's what I believe helped me, was looking at great work and saying, you know what, I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to go out there in the world and do what these guys did, and go and see the world and see different places. And, put myself in situations, specifically, let's be real. When I saw the movie, where is it? When I saw the movie War Photographer by James Nostrway, and I looked at his work, I was like, fuck, man. I want to make a war photo. I don't know why. I felt like that was something I had to do. It was like within me. It's like, I want to be on the fucking front lines. I need to go out there. I just want to see it. I want to feel it. I want to see what life is. I want to see the chaos. I want to put myself out there. In order to get the photo that resonates with you, you have to put yourself out there. That's a photo that resonates with me. That's a photo that makes me feel something, that punches me in the gut. The photos that I've made over the years required this ability to not only articulate the photograph within the compositional decision of framing and timing and light and shadow, but it required me to actually have a presence in the world. I had to actually put myself in the world. I decided to volunteer in various locations like Israel and Palestine, whether I was on a kibbutz farming or living with a Palestinian family in a hostel. You know, I remember going abroad to Zambia, Africa to work as a volunteer with the Peace Corps and spending a year there, and really not only just I wasn't there to photograph, you know, I was working, I was doing things in the farms, I was working with aquaculture. But what that allowed me to do was, you know, I was able to get, you know, access to certain situations that I always I had in the back of my head of like, you know, I want to photograph a funeral. I'm going to be real. Like, I remember seeing in the James Notchway movie, right, a photo of a funeral, or like him shooting at a funeral. And I was like, well, I want to photograph at a funeral. And in order to get there, in order to make a photo of these situations, you really have to go out there in the world. And so I think that not only are we going to have to make creative decisions, right? Not only are we going to have to make decisions when it comes to light, when it comes to the camera choice, the focal length, right? We're going to really need to put ourselves out there in the world and stay consistent in order to develop a style. For me, I just kept going. I was like, where's the next place I'm going? When am I going next? You know, practicing my photography every single day here in my hometown in Philadelphia. And then, you know, when I was feeling warmed up, you know, maybe after like 6 months, you know, I said, I'm ready. And then I decided on a whim. I never planned anything. I would just go. I went to a trip to Mumbai. I remember when I went to Mumbai, I was working in the city of Philly. I was taking lots of great pictures, and I was working on my photography. I was like, well, I'm on a roll right now. And then I was like, you know what, it's ready. I'm ready. Let me go to Mumbai. I don't know why. I just went. You know, I kind of go with the flow. I never approached this thing like, oh, I'm going to travel somewhere and make it look. Well, look at me. I got all my photos just freaking plastered everywhere. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know, but I think I developed a style. But I didn't make a book yet. I mean, what do I look like making a book right now? I mean, I will, but come on, man. It's like, you think I'm ready to do that? I have to really look at the work and understand what it means. You know, I've only done the first part. The first part was me going out there in the world. You know, now I'm home, and I'm coming home, and I'm trying to develop a new style or a new approach through shooting in black and white, while simultaneously studying the work I've already made. And I think that in order to make your voice, to cultivate a style, you have to make more pictures. Like, I would have never been able to cultivate a voice if I didn't take this thing seriously. You know, I've been, to be completely honest with you, man, that's all it is. Like, you can study the masters, you can have an idea of what has been done before and study all the compositional bullshit, but I've been working on my photography for a decade nonstop. Like, I don't remember a day that I like take a break. I just don't. That's just how I am, though. Like, I just keep going. Like, even to this day, I'm just still going, you know. And I'll briefly look back in the early mornings. I'll have my coffee and I'll look through the photos for 2, 5, 10 minutes, whatever. But that's about it. I'm still going. You know, I'm not done. I'm just getting started. And it's been a decade. And I think that's important to highlight. You know, the journey of a photographer is endless, right? I'm just getting started. And yeah. So just realize wherever you are in your journey, I'm still getting started. Okay? We're all still getting started. Like, I'm just getting started, man. Like, if you're still struggling to find your voice, maybe take some of the information I just gave you to heart. Maybe you need to stop dabbling between different camera choices, right? I think these simple decisions make your life a lot easier in order to cultivate a style. You know, maybe you need to give up shooting film photography. Maybe you're starting off and you're shooting film and you're realizing, well, what the fuck? It's blurry. My photos are out of focus. I can't reload the film right. Well, dude, it's 2024. It's 2025. It's about to be 2025, right? Like, move on from the old approach that's holding you back, and yeah, make some serious considerations going into 2025 that will take your photography to the next level. Yeah. If you're a local photographer in Philadelphia and you want a free workshop, just come to my website or email me at dante@dantesisifo.com, or meet me at the Eagle, and I'll help. I don't know. I don't know anything. Okay? I know nothing. And that's why I am wise.